Well, what's up, Tiger fans? Justin Babin Jr. here with another another packed hump day edition of the Babin on the Bayou show. It is Wednesday, March 25th, 2026. Again, I am your host, as always, Justin Babin Jr. This is another edition of the Babin on the Bayou show. Thank you, as always, for tuning in. Got a lot to get to on this Wednesday edition of the show. A lot we're going to talk about before we get into all of it. I made the time. I got the time today for the show and for all of you. So I thank all of you so much for tuning in. Before we get to everything we have to get through today, I want to remind you, as always, of our wonderful daily sponsor over at Shield Heating and Cooling, the best AC company in the business today. Remember that number 225-46 Bayou, 225-46 Bayou, BAYOU. If you call the wonderful team over at Shield Heating and Cooling today at that number, tell them you heard about them from the Babin on the Bayou show, and you will be receiving free, absolutely free AC system cleaning checks courtesy of our wonderful friends over at Shield Heating and Cooling. Again, the best AC company in the business. We greatly appreciate them for being the daily title sponsors of the Babin on the Bayou show, and you can participate in that wonderful again, completely free AC system cleaning checks courtesy of our friends over at Shield Heating and Cooling. If you call that number 225-46 Bayou, BAYOU today. Okay, got a lot to get into today. Thank you. Let's see. Hey, buddy. Hey, Saban. Good to see you, buddy. Hey, buddy. Good to see you. Thank you for tuning in. All right, so let's tune in. Let's get on the show. We got a lot to discuss today. We're gonna talk some LSU baseball. We're gonna talk really a week recap. A week recap. We'll recap the Oklahoma, the OU series. We'll recap the series or the game last night that LSU won 15-5 in 8 innings. 8 inning run rule. LSU defeats Louisiana Tech last night. We'll talk about both of those things. I plan to just talk about baseball today, folks, but then just on X and on Twitter and stuff this morning and lately, Will Wade, the a lot of stuff going around about Will Wade potentially. Is he coming back to be LSU's head coach for LSU men's basketball? I wanted to touch on that. Look, obviously it has been a pretty much a just disaster of a 4-year run for Matt McMahon as the head coach at LSU. I mean, you look at it, this year he only won 3 games in the SEC, and last year he only won 3 games in the SEC. He's had, just terrible during his time here at LSU. The best season he's had was when LSU went 9-9 in the SEC, and they went like 17-16 or something like that in the regular season. They went 9-9 in the SEC 1 year under McMahon, but in 4 seasons, McMahon has never really gotten that close to making an NCAA tournament. And when Will Wade was here, it was the golden era, at least for me. I mean, of course, you had of course, the 90s and all of that, and then you have John Brady in 2007, I believe, take the team to the Final Four. But I was 3 years old at that time. So by the time I've been, paying attention to LSU sports, the best run for LSU men's basketball was indeed when it was under Will Wade. You're talking about a guy who made 3 NCAA tournament appearances with LSU when he was the head coach here. The vibe, the energy, the swagger, everything that Will Wade brought to LSU. Fans love him. Obviously, fans have been clamoring to have him back for months now because you kind of see the writing on the wall for Matt McMahon. And LSU, there's no doubt that they're pushing for him. There's no doubt that they're pushing for him. They're going after him. Really, the news kind of started this morning to kind of be talked about a little bit because LSU is trying to potentially hire the current McNeese State athletic director, and that is Heath Schroyer. So Heath Schroyer is the current AD at McNeese State, and he was the AD at McNeese when Will Wade was the head basketball coach at McNeese for 2 years. For 2 years, he was the head basketball coach at McNeese, and Heath Schroyer was the AD. And so you have that. You already have Wade Roos, who is the current LSU school president, was named the new LSU president in November. Well, before he came on to be the president at LSU, Wade Roos was the president at McNeese. So you get Heath Schroyer, and you have the AD that Will Wade worked with at McNeese, and you already have the president that Will Wade worked with at McNeese and had a good relationship with both of them. Will Wade took McNeese to 2 NCAA tournament appearances while he was there. I mean, look, folks, he went to 3 NCAA tournaments while he was at LSU, 2 at McNeese. He took NC State to 1 this year in his first season with the Wolfpack. Like, this is a guy who constantly, year in and year out, takes his teams and gets to the NCAA tournament. So getting him here would be a big deal. And it's something that LSU fans and everybody has been clamoring for months now when you look at it. So you're going after Heath Schroyer. You want to get him potentially. You have Wade Roos here. NC State officials did meet with Will Wade today, because Will Wade is still the coach at NC State, and they're doing their best to keep him. They're gonna, I'm sure they'll give him another offer, give him a little bit more money, trying to do whatever they can to keep him so that he doesn't leave for LSU. And technically, Matt McMahon is still the head coach, technically, of LSU men's basketball when you look at it. So you still have a few things that need to play out here. Also, if LSU did find a way, now NC State is fighting this, and they want to make sure they can keep Will Wade. If LSU does indeed find a way to lure Will Wade away from NC State and bring him back to be the head coach of LSU, they would have to pay his current buyout. They would have to pay NC State $5 million. Now, if they don't hire him until after April 1st, that buyout would go down by $2 million. So at April 1st and after, LSU, Will Wade's buyout goes down from $5 million to $3 million. So what that means is if LSU waits a week to hire Will Wade, it would save them $2 million. Again, NC State wants to keep him. They're doing their best to keep him, obviously. So we don't know how all of this plays out yet. Two things you should probably pay attention to. Again, if LSU gets Heath Schroyer over here from McNeese, and he would be under Verge Osbury, kind of in a senior athletic director role under Verge Osbury, and he would deal mainly with men's basketball and do all of that. If they get him here, that would be really big, because obviously having Heath Schroyer and Wade Roos both here at LSU would be a big key to getting Will Wade back here potentially. And then I think if you fire Matt McMahon, then that should be a sign to you. If it is announced that indeed LSU fires Matt McMahon, that should be a sign to you that a deal is at least close between Will Wade and LSU. Because if you don't get Will Wade to come coach this team next year, I think Matt McMahon is coming back. Like, that's all the reports, a bunch of people are saying. If you don't get Will Wade here, Matt McMahon is coming back and going to return and be your head coach next season. So a lot here. Obviously, look, I mean, Will Wade, 3 NCAA tournament appearances while he was at LSU, 55-33 record in the SEC. So over 50 wins in the SEC. Matt McMahon, I mean, he's only had 6 wins combined in the last 2 seasons in the SEC. Matt McMahon. So again, I'm not going to pretend up here. I've said it before. I'm a football and baseball guy first. Like, I eat, sleep, and breathe football and baseball. I like basketball, not as knowledgeable about it as other people. That's why we cover mostly football and baseball on this show. But man, like, think about everything that's happened over the past few months, really dating back to November, when LSU football fired Brian Kelly after the embarrassment that was the Texas A&M game. You have that happen. You have Jeff Landry making comments that ultimately lead to Scott Woodward, the LSU AD, and LSU parting ways. Verge Osbury is appointed as the new AD at LSU. Wade Roos is appointed as a new president at LSU. A lot of controversy with Jeff Landry, and all of that. And then you have Lane Kiffin ultimately comes here, and everything in the transfer portal and everything that Lane Kiffin has brought to LSU. Talked about it on my show Monday with AP, which I really enjoyed doing. And now you have this Will Wade situation where you're trying to lure Will Wade back to LSU away from NC State. And man, LSU, it's a box office attraction when you talk about LSU college athletics right now. Like it is, when it comes to college athletics, LSU is in the news cycle, and it's just been a crazy past few months, really, since November and since hiring Lane Kiffin, and even before that, since you fired Brian Kelly, it has been a whirlwind of a past few months. LSU is a box office attraction. And I put it out today. Imagine you have Lane Kiffin, Will Wade, Jay Johnson, and Kim Mulkey all coaching at LSU. That's next level. That is next level box office attraction. That is what LSU is right now. And yeah, I hope they can get them. It would be great if they get them. And they're definitely going after them. They're definitely making a very strong push for Will Wade because there are a lot of fans who want him back, and there's people, with a lot of power who want him back as well. So it'll be interesting to see and monitor how all of these things play out. Just wanted to touch on that a little bit real quick. But again, I thank you for tuning into the show. Let's get into some baseball content here because we got to talk about baseball, and really we're going to break down the OU series and my thoughts on that. We'll also talk towards the end of the show about the Louisiana Tech victory that LSU had last night. So we got a lot to cover, a lot to talk about with this LSU baseball team. Obviously, it was a very disappointing series loss to Oklahoma, losing 2 out of 3 in the box to Oklahoma, and that was very, very disappointing. Obviously, and we'll get into all of that. Last night was great to see the 15-5 8-inning run rule victory because your offense had a really, really good game last night, and it's one they needed because, as we'll talk about here in a minute, the offense mightily, mightily struggled a lot against Oklahoma in that 3-game series over the weekend. But you bounced back a little bit, and you had a really good game last night against Louisiana Tech, put up 15 runs on 14 hits. We'll talk more about that at the end of the show, but we gotta be honest about through 6 games and through 2 weeks of SEC play where this team sits. They're 2-4 in SEC play, and kind of some of the things that you've seen. And obviously, all of this, the next 20, 30 minutes covering the OU series, you have to balance that with what you saw last night. Obviously, it was Louisiana Tech, so it's not SEC level competition, but it was great to see what LSU was able to do, especially offensively last night against Louisiana Tech. But when you talk about the first 6 games of the season for this team in SEC play, it's just this team is struggling to play complementary baseball. Like, that's one of my big thoughts. Look back to the past 3 weekend series that you've lost over the past 3 weekends. The Sacramento State series, then you had the 2 SEC series to open up SEC play at Vandy, and then you hosted Oklahoma this weekend. You lost all of those series 2 out of 3. Sacramento State, I didn't think your pitching was bad against Sacramento State. Your pitching was fine. I mean, they gave up like 4 runs, 5 runs in a couple of those games, but really, when you look at it, only giving up 5 runs to Sacramento State, you should be able at LSU to still be able to win most of those games. But your offense was really bad, especially in games 2 and 3, Saturday and Sunday against Sacramento State. That is why you lost that series. Then you move over to Nashville, you move over to Vanderbilt, and what happened there is your offense pretty much had a solid weekend. I mean, look, being honest, they had a lot of help from the Vanderbilt pitching staff. Vanderbilt pitchers issued a lot of free passes, walks, hit by pitches, pass balls, wild pitches, like all of that. But when you look at it, I mean, you still put up double-digit runs in 2 of the 3 games you played in Nashville against Vanderbilt. Your pitching failed you that weekend. Your pitching gave up 33 runs, 29 hits, 25 total free passes issued by the LSU pitching staff in just 3 games in Nashville against Vanderbilt. It was a bad weekend for the LSU pitching staff in Nashville, and that's what cost you that series. That is what cost you that series. Then you move on to this past weekend, and against Oklahoma, your pitching staff was fine. Your pitching staff was good for the majority of the series against Oklahoma. I mean, they gave up 1 run in game 1 and then 4 runs in both. They gave up 4 runs in game 2, 4 runs in game 3, but you only gave up 9 total runs in 3 games against a top 10 ranked SEC opponent. That's good. Like, that's really good. You should expect to win that series when you only give up 9 runs in 3 games. Like, the pitching staff was fine. They were good over the weekend against Oklahoma. But your offense was just brutal. Your offense was absolutely brutal when you look at it, when you look at what this team did against OU. It was just, man, it was a real struggle, and it was a brutal one. It was a brutal one, and we'll get into it. I mean, you outscored Oklahoma in 3 games. You outscored them 12-9. You outscored them in total runs in 3 games, but you still managed to lose the series. You still managed to lose the series. Gosh, why am I struggling with this? Sorry, y'all. You still managed to lose the series even though you outscored them 12-9. As I mentioned before, pitching overall was good. Only gave up 9 runs to a top 10 team in 3 games over the weekend. Like, the pitching wasn't bad. That wasn't the issue. The offense was the issue. The offense was pretty brutal against Oklahoma. When you look at the numbers, I mean, these numbers I'm about to list out to you are pretty depressing when you look at it. Overall, LSU went 18 for 89 over the weekend in the 3-game series against Oklahoma, 9 for 43 with runners on base, 5 for 29 with runners in scoring position. Like, it was just a brutal, brutal weekend. Another point I wanted to make, Jake Brown has obviously been the best player on this team. I mean, I talked about him after the Nashville series last week on the show. I said he was playing like a Golden Spikes Award finalist, award winner, and I truly meant that with the way Jake Brown was playing or have been playing this season. He's been your best player. My concern is because this offense just really since the first 8 games of the season, like since the Jacksonville series, since the conclusion of the Jacksonville series, this offense has just been way too inconsistent. And because of that, Jake Brown, who's really been the only consistent batter in this lineup, opposing teams are going to stop pitching to Jake Brown. Like, that's a worry. And why would you pitch to Jake Brown at this point? And it started this weekend against OU. Oklahoma walked Jake Brown 6 times over the weekend. They walked Jake Brown 6 times over the weekend, and LSU behind Jake Brown. So after Brown was issued a free base, was issued first base over the weekend, after that, LSU went 0 for 5 with a walk. They went 0 for 5 with a walk the 6 times that Jake Brown was issued a free pass. And it's just, yeah, why would you pitch to Jake Brown at this point? Why would you pitch to the best player on the team? Because nobody else in this lineup has really been consistent. And it's been that way since you look at it since the Jacksonville series. It's been that way. What's up, Paul? Thank you so much for tuning in, brother. I really appreciate you, my friend. Thank all you folks for tuning in. Did want to shout out freshman Omar Cerna Jr. Omar Cerna has been really impressive. He's been probably your second best batter in the lineup lately. I mean, Omar Cerna Jr., the freshman, has been very, very highly impressive. In a 4-game stretch from the Grambling game last Tuesday to the 3 games you played this past weekend against OU, in that 4-game stretch, freshman Omar Cerna went 6 for 15, had a pair of homers, a pair of doubles. He's got an 8-game hit streak. Like, Omar Cerna is playing really, really well. And Jay Johnson said it. You're not taking Omar Cerna out of the lineup anytime soon. He's been your second best hitter on this roster over the past 1 to 2 weeks. Like, Omar Cerna, I will say I have been highly, highly impressed. I mean, he's got an 8-game hitting streak, guys. He's got an 8-game hitting streak. You've also seen some good things from John Pearson. Like, John Pearson has been good at times lately. So it's good to see him. He's really taken charge of that role at third base, what he's been able to do. But overall, guys, it's just the issue with this team is they don't play complementary baseball. And with this offense, man, you started the season so great offensively. Like, you went 8-0 in your first 8 games, and after your first 8 games, you were hitting 367 as a team, 367 team batting average as a team through the first 8 games of the season, and that was the best in the SEC. Like, when you look at it, and like, since that, it's just been up and down, inconsistent. You had one good game, that great game against Sacramento State in game one of that series on that Friday night when you put up 15 runs. You had a pretty good overall series in Nashville against Vanderbilt. You've had a couple games in between them. I thought you were very good at the plate last night against Louisiana Tech. We'll get into that later. But this offense has just been way too inconsistent. And man, it's just when you look at it, like LSU right now is currently batting 283 as a team, which is 11th best team batting average in the SEC. Now, before the Louisiana Tech game from last night, LSU was batting 277 as a team, which was 13th best in the SEC. LSU's batting average since the first since the conclusion of the Jacksonville series, since you left Jacksonville, since the first 8 games of the season, your batting average as a team has gone down 90 points. 90 points, almost 100 points. Your team batting average has gone down since the end of that Jacksonville series. It's frustrating because we saw it. We saw greatness in the first 8 games of the season. They were so great as an offense in the first 8 games of the season, but it just hasn't been that good lately when you look at it. Let me get to some of these comments. Third in batting average? Third in batting average? You mean right now? Or yeah, I know you were 13th. You were 13th in batting average before the Louisiana Tech game. I thought you were 11th right now in batting average, but the point that I'm making is it's been way too inconsistent offensively. And when you look at the first 6 games of SEC play for LSU, let me see what are these comments, what Paul is saying. Cerna, yeah, third in batting average. Cerna is third in batting average. Yeah, I was like third team batting average. That's not right at all. I'm sorry, Paul. I miss you, my friend, Paul. Thank you so much for tuning in to the show. Yeah, Cerna has been great. Which I mentioned earlier in the show. But you're 2-4 in SEC play. You're 2-4 in SEC play, and guys, everybody knows this. The SEC is the best conference, the best college baseball conference in America by a mile. It's not even close. It's not even close when you look at the talent in the SEC. The margin in the SEC is razor thin when you look at it. Like the margins in the SEC are super thin when you look at it. Like there are 10 to 12 teams every single year that are top 25 caliber teams in the Southeastern Conference. I mean, this year LSU is 2-4 right now, right? They're only 2 games out of first place in the SEC. The SEC, we're not going to go into it right now, but the SEC standings through 2 weeks is very bunched up because there are so many good teams in the SEC. As I said, you got 10 to 12 top 25 caliber teams in this conference every single season. It is my point in saying that is the margins are razor thin. And you've lost 4 games so far in the SEC through the first 6 games you played. 2 of those games you've lost by 1 run. Another one of those games you've lost by 2 runs. So 3 of the 4 SEC games that you've lost so far on the season, you've lost by 2 runs or less. You've lost late games by 2 runs or less. I think one of my things right now is it's not about the talent with this team. And I've said that before. I'll say it again. And I feel like a broken record because I say that every week. But this team is talented. They do have the talent. But when you look at it, because the margins are razor thin in the SEC, it's not just like I know they have the talent because of last year, because of all the talent you have returning from the national championship team between Curiel, Milam, Stanny, Aaron Beatty, Brown. All of those guys are back. That's not including the guys on the pitching staff that are back, from Schmidt to Newt to Cowan to Rizzi to Evans. All of those guys you have back. So it's not about the talent. When I look at it, and when I look especially in this Oklahoma series and a little bit against Vandy as well, the other teams are making winning clutch plays, making clutch plays late in the game to win, and you were not. You are not making winning plays. You are not making the clutch plays that you need to win in the SEC because you're going to be in more 1-2 run games. Like, you're going to be in close games and dogfights every single weekend in the SEC. And through 6 games, this team constantly in games doesn't make the clutch play. They don't make the winning play. It's a problem. Vandy, think back to game 1, the first SEC game this season you played against Vanderbilt. Think back to that game. You're up what? You're up 2 runs going into the bottom of the ninth. Vandy puts up 3 runs. They hit a walk-off 2-run bomb. That's a winning play. That's a clutch play that Vandy has to win that game. And then and both of your losses to OU this weekend in game 2 and in game 3 on Friday and Saturday, OU made clutch plays late in those games that you didn't, and that's why they won. Like, that is why they won when you look at it. And it's just, as I said before, because the competition is so fierce and so stout in the SEC, you have to make winning plays. You have to make clutch plays. And time again this weekend, we'll go through it going through the game flow. How many opportunities did LSU have when they had runners on base, when they stranded runners? How many opportunities did LSU squander this weekend? Like, a lot. Like, it's a real problem when you do that in the SEC. You have to make those plays. Let's see. Glenn Myers, what adjustments has Coach A. Johnson made to get this team out of the slump? So we'll talk about the adjustments. Thank you, Glenn. Thank you so much, my friend, for being in the show, commenting. I thank you, my friend. So the adjustments he has to make to get out of the slump. Look, I don't know much more what Jay can do. Jay is the best college baseball coach in the country right now. And I mean, last night you hit the ball really hard. Like, last night you hit the ball really hard when you look at it. But man, I'll get to that a little bit towards the end of the show. I want to go through this game log for the Oklahoma series, get to the Louisiana Tech game. I'll give some of my thoughts. So save that question for the end of the show. That is something that I definitely want to touch on and talk about. The Oklahoma series started great in game 1. You won game 1 7-1 because Casey Evans had the best outing of the season for any pitcher. Casey Evans was phenomenal last Thursday, y'all. He was excellent last Thursday. And for everybody I've been talking to over the past couple of weeks about Casey Evans, about him not being the Friday night guy, about him not being the SEC ace for LSU, he looked every bit the SEC ace last Thursday. He looked every bit the Friday night guy last Thursday when you look at it. He was dominant last Thursday night when you look at it. Casey pitched 7 2/3 innings last Thursday night against Oklahoma. Only gave up 1 run. It was unearned on 3 hits. He only walked 1 batter. That was the last batter he faced, and he struck out 15. Casey Evans is the first LSU pitcher to strike out 15 batters in an SEC regular season game since Paul Skeens did it at Auburn in 2023. It was a masterful performance by Casey Evans on Thursday night. He had all of his pitches working, from his fastball, curveball, slider, his changeup. I mean, his changeup just vanishes. It caused so much trouble to the OU lineup. Like, particularly, he had all his pitches working, but like his changeup and his breaking ball, his curveball, like, it was just such dominant stuff with what Casey Evans was able to do. At one point in the game Thursday against OU, Casey struck out 5 Oklahoma batters in a row. When you look at it, and again, Casey Evans was just so good, so dominant last Thursday. And the issue for Casey through the first 5 starts of the season when he had issues was his command. Like, we talked about it, the Vanderbilt start was his worst start of the season. He issued 6 free passes. Opposing teams haven't hit Casey Evans hard at all this season. When you look at the numbers and when you dive deep into the numbers, it's been the issues with command. Well, his command was on point. His command was excellent last Thursday. He only walked 1 batter, and that was the last batter he faced. because his command was excellent and because he was able to throw strikes consistently, he absolutely shoved last Thursday night. Again, the best performance for any pitcher this season, I would say, so far on the season. Maybe Cason's best outing of his LSU career. The only one that rivals it to me would be his outing against Little Rock in the regional final last season in the postseason. But outside of that, it was just such good stuff from Casey Evans. Zach Cowan came in and recorded the final 4 outs of the game to end it. So the second straight really good outing for Zach Cowan. We'll get to him later in the show, towards the end of the show. Want to run through some more stuff. Offensively, Thursday night in game 1, it was weird, man. It was weird. The offense scored 5 runs in the first 2 innings on just 1 hit. So they only had 1 hit through they had 5 runs before they recorded 2 hits. They had 5 runs before they recorded 2 hits in game 1 against Oklahoma, thanks to Cam Johnson. Cam Johnson, we talked about it in the preview for the series last week. Cam Johnson, when he has struggled with command. We know that from his time at LSU. Cam Johnson issued 6 walks, and he hit a batter in just 1 1/3 innings. And then the Oklahoma defense in the second inning committed 3 defensive errors in the second inning. So again, it was weird because you had 5 runs before you had 2 hits in that game Thursday night. Again, it seems like now Louisiana Tech was a little bit different because you braked last night and you were really good last night against Louisiana Tech, but it seems like the past few weeks you can only put a lot of runs up on the board or have a big inning when you have a lot of help from the opposing pitching staff. Like you put up some runs, some good production up against Vanderbilt. A lot of that was because Vanderbilt issued you a lot of free passes, pass balls, wild pitches, etc. And then you put up 5 runs through the first 2 innings on only 1 hit in game 1 against Oklahoma because of 6 walks, a hit batter, and 3 defensive errors. After that, Xander Mercurius came in the game, and he really caused you a lot of trouble. Xander Mercurius caused you a little bit of trouble. The Tigers got the leadoff runner on base Thursday night against OU. They got the leadoff runner on base in the 3rd, the 4th, and the 5th, but they failed to score in each of those innings. They did score 2 runs in the 7th off of 2 doubles by Omar Cerna and John Pearson in the 7th, and then Zach York hit a 2 RBI single to extend the LSU lead to 7-1 Thursday night in game 1. But again, it was a weird game offensively because you did put up 5 runs in the first 2 innings, but it was because you had so much help from the opposing team's pitching staff and from the opposing team's defense. Game 2, you lost. This was the one you lost 4-2. Yeah, you lost this one 4-2, and you lost Saturday's one 4-3. This was the one you lost 4-2. We got to talk about Cooper Moore. So Cooper Moore in game 2 pitched well. I thought he had a good outing, pretty good outing. Cooper Moore did. He pitched. He went 4 innings, gave up 2 earned runs on 4 hits with no walks and 4 strikeouts. Retired the side in order in both the first and the second inning, with 3 strikeouts in the first 2 innings. He did give up a run. Moore did in the 3rd off of a double by Nolan Stevens, a sac bunt, and then an RBI single by Jason Walk. Moore gave up 2 singles in the 4th to Jackson Willis and Dayton LaChance, and then another run came home to score on a wild pitch in the 4th. So Moore gave up a run in the 3rd and a run in the 4th, but he did get a nice strikeout to end the 4th inning and strand a runner on 3rd. So he did good there. And the 5th inning is what scared you for Cooper Moore. The 5th inning is what scared you for Cooper Moore. Cooper Moore goes out in the 5th inning, throws 1 pitch, spikes a fastball in the dirt. Jay Johnson comes out. The trainer, Isaac Trujillo, comes out. And Cooper Moore doesn't throw another pitch, doesn't throw another warm-up pitch. He's obviously visibly upset coming off the mound, taken out with an injury. When you look at it, talking to people about kind of, what do you think? What do I think? Like all of that, it looked like an elbow injury or something with his elbow at first, because, you know, when you look at it, and that's a terrible injury, especially for a pitcher. You never want anything like that. So you have that, and it comes out after the game that it's a tricep injury. He's experienced some inflammation and a little bit of a tricep injury. That's what happened with Cooper Moore. He's going to be out for multiple weeks. So about 3 weeks, Cooper Moore is going to be out and not be able to pitch for you. We got to talk about that towards the end of the show. That's a big hit. Cooper Moore, through the first 3 weeks of the season, was probably your best starter. I mean, think back to his first 3 starts of the season in non-conference play where he was absolutely shoving, like he was absolutely dominant in the first 3 non-conference starts of the season. So having him out for about 3 weeks is going to very much hurt you with that tricep injury. It is going to, yeah, it's just a big loss. And I hated it for him at first because, man, he's just emotional walking off the mound. And you could obviously tell that something was wrong. Tricep injury, so it doesn't seem to be as bad as it could have been. It doesn't seem to be season ending or anything like that. Going to be out for multiple weeks, though. We'll talk about that towards the end of the show, that issue with Cooper Moore. Zach York, 4th in batting average. Yes, we got to talk about Zach York as well. We have a lot to cover on this show tonight, folks. This afternoon, folks. So I made a lot of time that we can talk. So again, Cooper Moore out for multiple weeks because of that tricep injury. Let's see. Cooper Williams came in for Cooper Moore. Williams walked a batter, gave up an RBI single to OU's Trey Gamble that gave Oklahoma the 2-1 lead in the 5th. Maverick Rizzi came in, got a strikeout, a nice strikeout for Rizzi to end the 5th for LSU, stranding a runner on 3rd. Something you'll notice is LSU pitchers fought this weekend, and they did a nice job. Like, they had a good weekend as a pitching staff overall. As I said earlier in the show, like what they were able to do, I was impressed with them. So you strand runs in the 3rd. In the 6th, Rizzi gave up a single and a walk before he was taken out of the game in the 6th. Grant Fontenot came in the game for Rizzi in the 6th, got 3 straight outs, including 2 strikeouts to get the Tigers out of the 6th inning without giving up a run. Santiago Garcia came in and pitched really well in the 7th for Garcia, and he also retired the side in order in the 8th. Garcia did give up a run in the 9th, though, on a double by Kyle Branch and an RBI single by Trey Gamble. I will say something I said in a post I made earlier today. Santiago Garcia and Grant Fontenot have been really, really good the past couple of weeks. Like, I know something Paul has mentioned, a term Paul has mentioned that I'm going to use here, like the circle of trust. Like, who do you trust in the bullpen? Gavin Guidry, obviously your best arm out of the bullpen. You do like Devin Sheeran and some other guys as well. But like Fontenot and Garcia, what they've been able to do has really impressed me over the past few weeks. They've been putting in a lot of good work. I really liked what I've seen out of Grant Fontenot and Santiago Garcia over the past few weeks. And their role is going to increase as the season goes along because they've put in a lot of really good work. Grant Fontenot comes out there throwing 97, 98, got some good breaking stuff. And then Santiago Garcia, a left-hander, the best left-hander on this pitching staff, throws in the mid-90s. He's got good breaking stuff as well. Like, again, those two guys have really, really impressed, in my opinion, over the past number of weeks. But again, especially in games 2 and 3, the games that you lost, the offense, the lineup was the issue. And Friday in game 2, you played LJ Mercurius was on the mound. We talked about LJ Mercurius being the best starting pitcher for OU. And he had a 1.59 ERA going into the series. Like, LJ Mercurius has been really good so far for Oklahoma this season. To start the game, you started off well. You had back-to-back singles from Steven Milam and Jake Brown to lead off the first against Mercurius. But then Curiel struck out, Cerna flied out, and then Milam got gunned down at home to end the inning. You tried to, steal first and third, try to trip him up. Catcher throws the ball to second. Second baseman throws the ball back to catcher guns. It looked a little bit weird. I don't know. It didn't really work. I know what they were trying to do. They were trying to get that runner in from home, but they weren't able to. So you weren't able to get anything across in the first inning, even though you had two singles to lead off the inning. Then in the second, John Pearson hit a solo bomb to lead off the second. Again, I'll say it again. John Pearson, kind of solidifying that third base role, what he's been able to do. I've been impressed by him and Cerna. They put together some really good outings and some good at bats lately. Pearson had that solo bomb to lead off the second, but then you left two runners stranded in scoring position to end the second inning. Again, runners stranded, leaving runners on base, just an issue, man. Like the opportunities that you missed, the opportunities that you did not capitalize on. It was just so very frustrating in the OU series. And then LJ Mercurius got rolling. He really got rolling. He retired the LSU side in order in the third, the fourth, and the fifth. So at one point, Mercurius retired 10 LSU batters in a row. So he really got rolling. In the sixth inning, Omar Cerna hit an RBI single in the sixth to drive in Jake Brown and cut the lead to 1 at the time. So it was a 3-2 lead going into the seventh. And then in the seventh, man, like in the seventh, it's weird. Stanfield hit an infield single with 2 outs off of reliever Jake Bowden for Oklahoma. So infield single by Stanfield. Then Stanfield advanced to second on a balk. He advanced to third on a wild pitch. And then I was at the box for game 2 on Friday night, and I really thought I thought it was a wild pitch for ball 4, and it walked Milam, and it went to the backstop, and Stanfield crossed home plate, and I thought it tied the game. Turns out the pitch just barely grazed Stephen Milam, so it hit Stephen Milam. It's a dead ball. Chris Stanfield goes back to third, so the tying run does not score for LSU in that inning. And then you had, let's see. So it was a dead ball. Stanfield goes back to third. Caden Leon, the reliever for OU, comes in the game. New reliever comes in the game. Walks Jake Brown. So the bases are loaded. The tying runner's at third. Derek Curiel comes up to the plate in the seventh inning. And Curiel, who I love, flies out to center field to end the inning, and you don't get across the tying run. Like when I talk about winning plays, when I talk about clutch plays, when I talk about opportunities, that's one of the biggest ones from this weekend that you squandered. Like you have to be able to produce in those situations. In 2-out situations with runners on base, you have to be able to do that. You did it well last night against Louisiana Tech. Like you had some good 2-out hitting last night against Louisiana Tech. But again, in SEC play, in these 4 losses that you've had, in these clutch situations, 2-out situations, runners on base, chance to take a lead, chance to tie like you had Friday night in the 7th inning, just squandered the opportunities. And then in the 8th inning, you got a runner on base in the 8th inning. You grounded into a double play. And then you got a runner on base in the 9th inning, and you grounded into a double play, which was an issue for you this weekend. I believe you grounded into 2 double plays in your loss on Friday, 2 double plays in your loss on Saturday. So again, it was an issue, and the issue is you just squandering these opportunities. And it's not the talent. It's not the talent. It's like you have to make those clutch plays. You have to make those clutch plays when the margins are razor thin in SEC play. Oklahoma made those clutch plays. You were not able to. When you look at it. What's up, AP? Fontenot's best outing of his career. Yeah, I've been impressed with Grant Fontenot, what he's done lately. Let's get to game 3 of the Oklahoma series. So game 3, Oklahoma, William Schmidt gets the start. Schmidt pitched well. Schmidt has been really, really good this season. We've talked a lot about it. Thought he had another solid outing on Saturday in game 3 against Oklahoma. Went 4 innings, gave up one earned run on 6 hits, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts. Schmidt was really good. He did give up a solo bomb to Oklahoma's Camden Johnson in the first, but then he retired the other three batters he faced in the first with 2 strikeouts. Omar Cerna is just a guy who really stands out and has been really, really good. He's been your second best hitter lately. To me, Cerna has been your second best hitter in this lineup. He's been really, really impressive lately. Omar Cerna, in the bottom of the first, hits the 2-run bomb, gives LSU the lead. So you go up 2-1 after the first. William Schmidt retires the side in order in the second. In the top of the third, Schmidt recorded a strikeout, then gave up a weak infield hit, and then 2 walks to load the bases with only 1 out. But then he recorded 2 straight strikeouts to get out of the inning. So something Cooper Moore did pretty well. Now, Cooper Moore's hurt, and we can talk about that. But William Schmidt, Cooper Moore, something I feel like LSU pitchers did well of this weekend is limiting the big inning. Limiting the big inning, getting out of those big innings. Feels like the LSU pitching staff did really well in those situations. William Schmidt did that in the third inning with the bases loaded and 1 out, recording 2 straight strikeouts. Breaking stuff worked well again. Slider, big curveball, really great stuff. The best stuff of anybody on this pitching staff. William Schmidt talked about it, and it's really come together nicely for him in 2026. I would give credit to Oklahoma. What Oklahoma did, they didn't put a lot of runs up on the board against William Schmidt, but they really drove up his pitch count, especially in the third inning and the fourth inning. Schmidt threw 30-plus pitches in the third inning, so he threw 60 pitches after 3, and then in the fourth, Schmidt gave up 2 singles, recorded a K to get out of the inning once again. So he got out of the third, got out of the fourth, did a great job of that, dealing with the runners on base. But Oklahoma, good offense, drove up Schmidt's pitch count to where he had to come out in the fifth. He had to come out in the fifth, not because he was being hit off of a lot. Schmidt had a good outing, but I will say OU did a nice job, credit their offense, for running up William Schmidt's pitch count when you look at it. So he comes out in the fifth inning. So he pitched very well, gave up 2 singles in the top of the fifth before he was replaced by Gavin Guidry. So Guidry comes in with 2 runners on base. Those runners advanced to scoring position on a wild pitch. But then Guidry got a nice strikeout, then a really good line out that Stephen Milam grabbed. Again, best shortstop in the country, best defensive shortstop in the country. That's Stephen Milam right there with what he's able to do. Nice line out to Milam. Then another nice ground out was hit right to Milam to get LSU out of the fifth with the lead still intact. So Guidry did a nice job getting out of the inning in the fifth. Chris Stanfield, shout out to Stanny for hitting a solo bomb in the fifth. Good job for Stanny hitting a solo bomb in the fifth off of Cord Rager to lead off the fifth. Freshman Cord Rager, he did pretty well. He only gave up 2 hits. The 2 hits that Rager gave up were against Stanfield and Cerna, the home runs by Cerna and Stanfield. Besides that, those were the only 2 hits that Rager gave up. When you look at it on Sunday, Rager was replaced by OU reliever Gavin Jones with 1 out in the fifth. Again, the only 2 hits Rager gave up were to the home runs by Stanny and Cerna. Gavin Jones walked Aaron Beatty, gave up an infield single to Jake Brown. But again, another double play. Jake Brown gave up an infield single to Derek Curiel. So 2 runners on base, another double play. Jake Brown grounds into a double play to end the inning. Again, another situation right there. Like 2 runners on base, ground into a double play. You can't capitalize on those opportunities, man. It kills you. Like it kills you in SEC play. Grounded into 4 double plays in games 2 and game 3 alone. So in both of your losses this weekend, you grounded into 4 double plays. Guidry had a nice 6th inning. He had 3 strikeouts in the 6th inning. So had a nice 6th inning. In the 7th, Guidry went walk, strikeout, walk. Both runners advanced to scoring position on a wild pitch in the 7th. But then again, Guidry got a strikeout and a ground out, another ground out on another beautiful play by Stephen Milam to get the Tigers out of the 7th. Milam just makes all these plays at shortstop look easy, like they're nothing. Best defensive shortstop in the country. So Gavin Guidry did a great job getting out of the 5th. Great job getting out of the 5th by Gavin Guidry. Great job getting out of the 7th by Gavin Guidry. Like, you put up 3 zeros, and in 2 of those innings, you dealt with bases loaded. In the 5th, you dealt with 2 runners on base. In the 7th, and get out of both of those innings. Not only thanks to Guidry, but thanks to some unbelievable defensive plays by Stephen Milam that he makes look way too easy. And then Guidry came back out, let's see, in the 7th, bottom of the 7th. Let's see. In the bottom of the 7th, Curiel grounded out to third to end the 7th. He stranded another 2 runners on base in the 7th. So, again, just stranding runners on base, squandering opportunities as an offense. You go to the 8th up 3-1. You were up 3-1, chance to win the series. Gavin Guidry has thrown 58 pitches. He's thrown 58 pitches, dealt with a lot of runners on base, dealt with a lot of traffic in the 5th and the 7th, gotten out of it. You probably kept him in for a little bit too long. If I'm being honest with you. I would have gone to Devin Sheeran to start the 8th. Maybe that's hindsight. I know Jay, obviously I love Jay, and he said, well, Guidry put up 3 zeros, so that's why he came back out. But he, 58 pitches through 3 innings, and in that situation, I mean, you have Sheeran there. I thought that was a possibility. But Guidry comes back out in the 8th after throwing 59 pitches already. Walked the leadoff batter, gave up a single to Nolan Stevens, gave up an RBI single to Kyle Branch. Jason Walk moved the runners over on a sac bunt, moved both runners in scoring position. So Devin Sheeran comes in the game, no outs, 1-run game, runners on second and third. Sheeran hits the first batter he faced. It was a 1-2 count. Man, it was a 1-2 count. Sheeran hits the first batter he faces on a 1-2 count. And then a ball is hit right to Jack Ruckert, man. A ball is hit right to Jack Ruckert. It's a tailor-made double play. You make it, you get out of the inning, and you still have the lead. Jack Ruckert bobbles it, throws it to first base. The runner is safe at first. The runner is safe at second. Runner safe everywhere. The tying run comes home and score. Again, you make that play, it's a winning play. You make that play, it's a clutch play. You got to make those plays in the SEC. You got to make those plays in the SEC. It kills you. And, I hated that for Jack Ruckert. We'll talk about that as well. That's something I wanted to talk about as well. But you have that happen. OU, now the game is tied. OU takes the lead on a sac fly that's hit the right field by Brendan Brock. Sheeran got a fly out to end the 8th. But now the Tigers are down 4-3 going into the bottom of the 8th. And then as an offense, man, it just in the 8th and the 9th, you're down 1 run. You're down 1 run going into the 8th. And in the 8th of the 9th, LSU was retired in order on just 16 pitches in those 2 innings, man. It's just the offense. The offense, man. And this weekend, to recap Oklahoma, we can get into some thoughts I have on the Louisiana Tech game. You got to make winning plays. You got to make clutch plays. I can point to the double play that Jack Ruckert did make. I can point to that. I can point to Derek Curiel hitting a fly ball to end the inning with the bases loaded in the 7th. I can point to stranding 2 runners on base in the 5th, stranding 2 runners on base in the 7th in the game on Saturday. There's so many situations I can point to where you just don't make the clutch play. You just don't make the winning play. You're 2-4 in SEC play. And look, I do believe that this team has the talent to turn it around. I do. The offense is just too inconsistent right now. It's just too inconsistent right now when you look at it. The Tech game from last night, though, was a positive. It was a positive against Louisiana Tech. Against Tech, you put up 15 runs on 14 hits in a 15-5 8-inning run rule victory on Tuesday night. LSU's 14 hits last night against Tech were the most hits they've had in a game since the game against Indiana and Jacksonville on February 20th. On February 20th. So you put up more offensive production in the last month. You put up your most offensive producing game in the past month was last night. That was good to see. We'll run through this real quick. We're about to go over the hour mark, which is a little bit long, but it's fine. I made time for the show today because I kind of knew that was going to happen because we had a lot to get to. Reagan Ricken started the game, gave up 2 in the first inning. Ricken walked the leadoff batter, gave up a single. And then the run scored when Jake Brown committed a throwing error, misfiring the throw to John Pearson at third. Eventually, the throw rolled into the dugout. An error, scored that run. You gave up another run in the first on a ground out, an RBI ground out. You scored 2 runs in the first off of a John Pearson 2 RBI single that was laced right up the middle. Milam and Brown had both. Milam had hit a single earlier in the inning. Brown reached base on an error by the pitcher. So, again, John Pearson, guy I'll point out as a guy who stands out to me along with Omar Cerna, some guys that I've seen stepping it up at the plate lately. Then you had, you put up 5 in the second. Milam hit a bloop single in the second. Caraway hit a very hard double down the left field line. I believe they said it was 112 miles an hour off the bat on that double by Trent Caraway. Milam blew a single, very hard hit double by Trent Caraway. Jake Brown hit a nice opposite field 2 RBI single. You had another run score when Omar Cerna reached base on a fielding error by the second baseman. There was a walk. There was a hit by pitch. Mason Braun walked with the bases loaded to bring home the 4th run of the inning. The 5th run of the inning came home on a wild pitch. So you scored 5 runs in the second, 7-2 going into third. Both Ethan Plog and Zion Theophilus did a nice job. Ethan Plog pitched 2 scoreless innings. Freshman Zion Theophilus pitched 2 scoreless innings. LSU scored 2 more runs in the 5th on a solo bomb by Zach York. I want to get to Zach York at the end of the show. I really do want to get to Zach York at the end of the show. A few things to wrap up on. Zach York hits a solo bomb in the 5th. Curiel hit an RBI double off the left field wall in the inning as well. So you scored 2 runs in the 5th. You did give up a run in the 6th, and you gave up 2 runs in the 8th. A leadoff walk came home to score for Louisiana Tech on an RBI double in the 6th that was hit off of Dax Date. Marcos Paz in the 8th gave up a walk and a double. Then Grant Fontenot came in the game. Fontenot walked the first batter he faced. A run scored on a fielder's choice ground out RBI. And then another run scored on an RBI single that was hit off of Fontenot before Santiago Garcia came in the game to end the 8th inning. Again, Garcia and Fontenot stand out to me as 2 guys that have really stepped up their level of play on the mound over the past few weeks. Then you put up 6 runs in the 8th to end the game. In the 8th, you had Mason Braun walked. Milam hit an infield single. York hit a 3-run bomb for his 2nd home run of the game. 2 home runs in the game last night for Zach York. Those were the first homers that Zach York has hit in a month. Those were the first homers Zach York has hit in a month. Trent Caraway hit an infield single. Jake Brown was hit by a pitch. Omar Cerna hit a 2 RBI single to left field. And then Curiel ended the game with an RBI double that was hit off the wall in center field to end the game. So, again, you raked last night against Louisiana Tech. Like, you had a really good offensive performance last night against the Louisiana Tech Bulldogs. You had the 2 homers in the game last night from Zach York, 3 hits for Steve Milam, 2 hits for Trent Caraway, 2 hits and 2 RBIs for Omar Cerna, 3 hits, including 2 doubles for Derek Curiel. Jake Brown had a hit and 2 RBIs. Jake Brown was also hit by a pitch twice. So, again, opponents are pitching around Jake Brown. It's unfortunate, and you need to be a little bit more consistent to make opponents pay. And then Mason Braun drew 3 walks in the game last night against Louisiana Tech. it was good to see the Tigers bounce back. It was really good to see the Tigers bounce back, have a great game. They raked last night. Like, they raked at the plate last night. Great to see. I'll get into some of these comments, and I'll get into some of my closing thoughts for the end of the show. I know the show's going really long. We've thrown out 4 to 5. Thrown out 4 to 5. Paul, I'm sorry. I feel bad because you probably were referencing to something I was talking about, and then I just kept going. So that's the issue with going back and reading these comments at the end of the show. This is what happened. Have we thrown out anyone stealing a base this year? Other teams are going to capitalize on how bad we are behind the dish. Okay. What's up, Randy? What's up, my friend? Few things, again, from this weekend. You got to make more clutch plays. You got to make more winning plays. You have the talent. Like I said at the beginning of the season, the reason I thought this team was going to be different, the reason I thought the team in 2026 was going to be different than the team in 2024 that came off a national title after 2023 was because you have so much returning talent from the team in 2025 that won a natty last year. Curiel, Brown, Staney, Milam, Aaron Beatty, Schmidt, Evans, all of those guys, Rizzy, all of those guys. The thing is you have the talent. Like, you do have the talent. You got to make the winning plays, and LSU has failed to do that through the first 2 weekends of SEC play. They have failed to do that. You had a really nice game last night. You had a really nice game at the plate last night. Now, that was against Louisiana Tech. That was not against SEC-level competition. We all understand that. We all get that. But, hey, I mean, you had your best offensive night at the plate in a month. You had your best offensive night at the plate in a month last night. So, you still got stuff to work on. We'll talk about that later in the week. I want to say 2 things. 2 things I want to say. Jack Rooker. I understand he made a bad defensive play, guys. He's got to make that play. That's a winning play. You make that play, you still have the lead going into the ninth. I love LSU fans. I love our fan base. I get it. I hate how the whole offense has struggled. The whole offense is the issue. It is a team game. It's a team game. It's a team sport. Okay? Jack Rooker is unable to make the play in the 8th inning. And yes, that play allowed the time run to score. I understand. But that's a 19-year-old kid. He's a 19-year-old freshman. And I saw people on X, fans on X, like Saturday night saying they wanted Jack Rooker to transfer. Like, I'm sorry. I would never call somebody dumb. But that's a dumb take. That's a dumb take. I'm not calling you dumb, but that's a dumb take. The whole LSU offense was brutal this weekend. The whole offense struggled. It was not Jack Rooker. The reason you lost that series was because the offense sucked. The offense sucked. That was the issue. That was the whole entire issue. But we're going to come out and we're going to blame Stephen Milam earlier in the season. We're going to blame Jack Rooker because he didn't make one play, even though your whole offense was bad. The whole weekend, your offense sucked. And you're going to blame Jack Rooker, a 19-year-old freshman, and say he should transfer. And then Zach York. Like, Zach York is the perfect example, guys. Zach York was not good against Oklahoma. He was not good against Oklahoma. Friday night, he struck out 4 times, 3 times looking Friday night. 4 times, 3 times looking. Zach York had a bad weekend. He didn't play Saturday. He didn't play in Game 3. I think that was the first game all season Zach York has not played. First game all season he's not played. Last night, he's the MVP of the game last night. He hit 2 bombs. He hit 2 bombs. First time hitting a bomb in a month. And he hit 2 of them last night. And you know what Jay did? And Zach York talked about this after the game last night. He said that Jay texted him late Friday night because he said, Zach York said Friday night was maybe the worst game that he's ever played in his baseball career. That's what Zach York said. Jay Johnson sent him a text late that night, said, I love you and your teammates love you. He didn't play Saturday. He comes back out on Tuesday and he hits 2 bombs. I love our fan base. I love doing this. I love all of it. I hate the attacking players. You can attack. You can criticize the team. I can say the lineup sucked this weekend because they did. But can we stop with saying a player should transfer because they don't make a play? Can we stop with the crap? I'm not even going to mention the crap I saw from people saying about Zach York this weekend. Like, why? Why? Criticize the team. It's a team sport. I'm going to love this team till I die. Like, I'm going to love this team game in, game out. Am I frustrated? Yes. Do I think this team's a super regional team right now? No, I don't. I don't think this team is a super regional team right now. Can they get there? Yes. But it's purple and gold till you die. Like, I'm an LSU alum. I'm an LSU fan. I'm an LSU diehard. I want to do this for a career because I'm passionate about it, because I love it. I love it. And I'm angry and I'm frustrated about the team, but why does that have to come to players? Why does that have to come to players? Why do we have to single out one player when the whole offense was bad this weekend? So at the end of the show, I just want to say, look, Paul says it all the time. Paul says it all the time, and other guys say it all the time. Wrap your arms around this team. Wrap your arms around this team. Cheer them on, man. Like, cheer them on. You can criticize them. You could say they were bad over the weekend. You can say that. But I hate it. I hate it when people go after Jack Ruckert, when people go after Zach York. I don't understand it. It doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense. This team's got a lot to work on. This team's obviously got a lot to work on, and that's the truth, and I can be critical, but guys, let's be a little bit better. Be a little bit better than that. Right? I'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow's show, plan to cover a little bit of football. I'll get into a Kentucky baseball preview maybe tomorrow, maybe Friday. Friday we'll go back and have a pregame show on Friday. So we may push some stuff back for baseball to Friday. I want to talk some football tomorrow a little bit, and maybe a little baseball as well. I know this show has gone really long. This is the longest show I've ever done by like 20 minutes or by like 10 minutes. So I understand that. But I thank you folks for tuning in. Let me go through some comments before we get out of here. What's up, Junior? Paulie J, you're gonna be the box Friday night. Good point, Paulie J. On Fontenot, that hat is fire, Junior. Thank you. I thank you. I got the hat at a game a few weeks ago, Uncle Randy. I got the hat. They aren't the same fans who told they are the same fans who told Brown to transfer in 2024. That's the perfect point, Paul. People forget Jake Brown, like how many fans criticized him after, the Chapel Hill not being able to make that defensive play in the outfield in Chapel Hill in 2024. And Brown's the best player on this team this year. Jake Brown's the best player on the team this year. The best. It's not particularly close. It's not close. He's the best. But if it was up to some people, we would have made him transfer after making one bad defensive play. Gotta chill. Ruckert is a star and from BR. A future star, I meant. Yeah, I mean, Big Papa was singing last night. How can you not support a hometown kid who stays home? I completely agree. That's why I totally ignore social media. I only watch and listen to YouTube. Need Uncle Randy in my comment section on pods. Ha ha ha. Eamon Jr., I enjoyed the 24 season and was so proud of the comeback. Uncle Randy loves LSU baseball, win or lose. Love Junior and Paulie J's mindset, and love for the players in LSU baseball. Love y'all. Love y'all. Paulie J, AP, Glenn. My dad was in the comments too. Everybody in the comments, thank you, folks. I'll be back tomorrow. At some point tomorrow, I'm thinking I'll release a time for it. I'll release the time for it in the morning. Pay attention to X and Facebook for that. And we'll have it. We'll have a show tomorrow. Thank you so much. I know the show's gone really long, so we're gonna get out of here. Thank you, folks, as always. God bless. Go Tigers. Have a great one. Peace out. Go Tigers, baby.